Hey folks, Zach Osterman here, Insider Indianapolis Star. This is your insider video for Indiana 74, Minnesota 62. Forgive me, obviously not at the arena with the weather coming in. You can probably assume I was at the arena, but with the weather coming in, I figured I'd just come home to write and just kind of go ahead and just get settled before the roads got weird. I think an impressive game. I think it's fair to say for Indiana. The Hoosiers, opened the game on a 7-0 run. I think they led. I think their first half lead peaked at about 25-8, and they scored 25 points in the first 8 minutes of the first half. And just, if you want to call it a response, the effort, the intensity, the focus. Minnesota was second best to everything basically from the start in this game. And I think that was evidenced by a lot of different things. Mackenzie Mgbako had like 6 points in the first 2 minutes of the game. Obviously going to write about him tonight. Yeah, Elijah Hawkins and Dawson Garcia, who are by any measure Minnesota's two most important players, were both in foul trouble by, I think, about 5 minutes into the game. Indiana was just beating guys to the spot. Aggressive defensively, much better on the glass. They got out rebounded by 2, but that's obviously a far cry from some of the efforts that we've seen recently. And the flip side of that is, they're +4 in turnovers forced. They're +6 in points off turnovers. They only had one fewer offensive rebound tonight than Minnesota. They scored more points in the paint than Minnesota, and that's against a Minnesota team that between Pharrell Payne and Ola Joseph and Dawson Garcia, tends to be fairly good in the paint. And a Minnesota team that tends to be very efficient as well. And Indiana forced Minnesota to shoot 39% from the floor. And a game that, frankly, probably wasn't even as close as the final score sort of reflected. So, again, if you want to call it a response, if anything, I thought this game would be tricky for Indiana. Obviously, you've got Purdue Tuesday night. Minnesota was coming in on a 7-game win streak. There wasn't really any pressure on Minnesota. They were an underdog in this game. There wasn't really any sense that, Minnesota was necessarily kind of, going to ambush Indiana, but it was still just a game where it sort of felt like Indiana, a lot of the pressure was going to be on Indiana for something good to happen tonight. And frankly, Indiana alleviated that pressure really quickly. And there were good performances across the board. And Mgbako was the best. Again, I'm going to write about him tonight. 19 points. Forgive me, the box scores up here on my monitor. 19 points on 12 shots, made a couple threes, 5 of 7 on free throws. I think there is a bit of kind of a cause and effect when Mackenzie Mgbako is playing well, when he's getting to the free throw line a lot, because that says he's aggressive. He's putting the ball on the floor. He's forcing his way to the rim. Malik Renew and kel'el Ware combined for 33 points and 20 rebounds. Renew had 3 assists. Indiana had 17 assists on 26 made baskets. That's compared to Minnesota, which coming into tonight was second in the country behind only Kansas in basically percentage of baskets that were assisted. So you get a sense for just how good Minnesota was at sharing the ball. Minnesota 9 assists on 23 made baskets. Trey Galloway had 7 assists by himself. He had 10 points, 3 rebounds. I think if you're Mike Woodson, you like seeing, between Gabe Cupps, Trey Galloway, Xavier Johnson, 8 rebounds, 8 guard rebounds in this game. Again, just being better clearing the boards. Indiana was much more reminiscent of the team that beat Ohio State. And obviously sort of the challenge for Woodson in the round is to figure out how to take these performances on the road. But I think that, it is worth saying there's value in Indiana getting to a place where it feels a level of confidence at home, and just saying, the starting point is we're hard to beat at home. The starting point is we win most, I don't know if it might be a stretch to say all of Indiana's home games. Obviously, Tuesday night will be a big test of whether this team is capable of something like that. But, get to a place where Assembly Hall is something resembling a fortress for this team. And then if you can just find a way to add, sprinkle in 1 or 2 on the road, you'll probably pick up the quality you need. So a really good performance from Indiana, needed after the Rutgers game. And I think it's also probably fair to say needed before the Purdue game. They get the weekend off now. They play Purdue Tuesday night. Obviously, Assembly Hall will be rowdy for that one. I think Indiana's already declared that a wideout. It is a game that has the capacity, for better or worse, to really sort of alter in a really sort of meaningful, possibly, difficult to sort of shift once it's done what alter the direction of Indiana's season for better or worse, that Purdue game. And so I think if you're Indiana, you feel good about the response from Rutgers. You feel good, frankly, about the setup for Purdue, I think, as well. And now you've stacked a couple good conference games. I mean, again, this was a Minnesota team that won at Michigan. It came back from, I think, 17 down to beat Nebraska at home back in December. This is, I don't know if it's going to be a tournament team at this point. I'd say probably not, but it's certainly a much better Minnesota team than what we've seen the last couple of years. It's not a pushover by any means. At least it hasn't been playing that way lately. And Indiana, frankly, pushed Minnesota over. I mean, Indiana led for 39 minutes and 42 seconds of this game, and the only 18 seconds Indiana didn't lead were the 18 seconds it took Indiana to make its first shot. So, again, I think it's a good response from Rutgers. It's also a good setup for Purdue. And now you just see if Indiana can find a way to make something of that rivalry game at home again for the third straight season. I guess one bit of housekeeping: Gabe Cupps did start for Xavier Johnson. Johnson came off the bench. He only scored 2 points, but he had some pretty good defensive minutes. He played 17 minutes. Cupps played 30, so Cupps did play more than Johnson tonight. Mike Woodson didn't elaborate much on it. He never really has when it comes to this stuff, but he did, at least sort of with the way he phrased his answer to the question about it, confirm that this was kind of a response to what happened at Rutgers. And however you want to frame that is up to you. But it's clear that Johnson basically lost his starting job, at least for this game, because of what happened in the Rutgers game. And he was 0 of 2 from the floor, 2 of 2 from the free throw line. I thought it was fine. I mean, again, I thought he played some good defense, had some good moments, couple turnovers, but clearly, still a player trying to make things happen. And Cupps didn't score, but did have the 4 rebounds, only 1 turnover and 1 assist. So, between the two of them, not a ton of offensive impact, but you're getting that elsewhere. It's okay if your point guard is just kind of that steadying presence, is good defensively. I thought they were both really good defensively. Elijah Hawkins, who is one of the best assist players in the country, had 6 assists, but he was 2 of 12 from the floor, 1 of 8 from behind the 3-point line, 5 points. Again, he was in foul trouble early. I thought Cupps and Johnson both played well against him tonight. So a good performance from Indiana, and one that they really need now to spin forward to obviously a very important game Tuesday night. We'll leave it there. I got to go write for the Indianapolis Star. I'm Zach Osterman. Thank you so much for watching. We'll talk to you soon.